So before I get into today's figure review, I wanted to make a special announcement about the channel. So yes, I'm going to still review all women's wrestling figures. It's a passion of mine. I love it. That's not going to change. But there's going to be an additional video every single week. We're going to start it off every Wednesday at noon. There's going to be an episode of the NXT Women's Weekly Wrap-Up where I recap everything that went on the night before on NXT with their women's division. And I'm really excited for this series. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time, but I've always been kind of intimidated by it because it's outside my comfort zone. But you know what? It's something I've wanted to do. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So I'm buckling in and I'm going to do it. Now I'm sure there's going to be changes made to it in the future as we go, whatever. But I'm excited to learn that and go through this process with all of y'all. So please tune in starting tomorrow, Wednesday at noon, where I recap NXT Gold Rush. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. The NXT Women's Division is my favorite division in all of wrestling. And what's really cool is in NXT, the women get a lot of time, a lot of well-deserved time that a lot of other products, a lot of other shows don't give the women. So that's why I really want to stick to the NXT product right now and recap everything that went on the night before in the women's division. But I'm super excited, so please tune in. Let me know what you think, and let's experience this together. Now, that being said, today we're going to unbox and we're going to review the NXT North American Champion, Blake Mariah May. Hey y'all, welcome to Lumberjillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Now before we get started, I just remind you to please hit subscribe to become an official resident of LJV and get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews. Like today's very exciting unboxing and review of AEW Unrivaled Series 18, Mariah May, the Chase version. Now, how was I able to get this? It was up on ringsidecollectibles.com. Now, as of late, I made a post on Instagram. As of late, Ringside has been posting a lot of the chases and the rares for purchase, which I think is awesome, but it's a little concerning. And I say that because there's a lot of warning signs. There's a lot to worry about when it comes to the Jazwares AEW line. And to me, quite frankly, it's terrifying because their women's figures have been the best women's wrestling figures over the last year and a half or so. And I stand by that statement. They put the most attention to detail and care and sculpting into their women's figures. And it's just sad to see this line slowly die off. And that's what I feel like is going on. And listing chases and rares for sale individually, it's kind of sad. Kind of feels like the line is just kind of phasing itself out. But either way, I'm excited to get this Mariah. I was really hoping to find it, but what better, I bought it. So let's take a closer look at this figure, and we will do a comparison with the standard release, and we'll see which one is technically better, which you like better. Now, that being said, let's take a closer look at this packaging. The Jazwares AEW figure packaging has been, and in my opinion, is the best wrestling figure packaging out there. I just love everything about it. Now, what sets this release different than the standard Mariah release is obviously this sticker on the front that says Chase 1 of 5,000, although some chases don't have stickers by error, so make sure to check that out. But also the image on the front matches the attire where she's in the white. She's all like, whoo, whoo. That's what she's doing right there. And then the bottom corner, we have the red numbering for the figure number where it says 193. So that's how you can tell if it's a chase or a rare. But if you come across one in the stores, I'm sure you're going to know even if it doesn't have that sticker. Because if you're collecting AEW figures, you're probably pretty diehard in wrestling figures. Because unfortunately, these figures haven't seemed to have a mass appeal to collectors. And that's why I'm worried about this line, which is too bad. Too bad. That'll be a whole separate video because I love these figures. Now, turning it around here, we have a different image than the standard, obviously. where it has Mariah May. And then we have the rest of the series. So yeah, pretty cool packaging here. Definitely my favorite out there. And there's something about those stickers that just makes me happy. Any collector that's found a chase or a rare in the store knows what I'm talking about. Like when you see that sticker, you're just like, you feel this euphoria, this collector euphoria, and it's just really exciting. So it's always hard to open these up and review them on the channel because I feel so like bad doing it. But the fact that I didn't find this, I bought it and I did buy two. I feel okay opening this up. So we are going to open it up. Now, after all these years, I have not found a good way to open up a Jazwares AEW figure. So we're going to do it the most brutal way that I can because I'm not keeping the package. So we pulled off that, take the bubble. Okay, and then boom, there we go. It's unboxed. So let me pop her out. Let's take a closer look. AEW Jazwares Unrivaled Series 18 Mariah May Chase out of 5,000. This attire is from the 2025 AEW Revolution pay-per-view, which took place on March 9th from Los Angeles, California. On this night, Toni Storm would defeat Mariah in a Falls Count Anywhere match to retain the AEW Women's World Championship. Some overall first impressions of this figure. I'm freaking blown away by the attire, y'all. I thought it was just white attire with like silver accents. But it has this paint applied all throughout like the legs and even on the bottoms that like changes color as the light exposure changes. It's like a fluorescent, pearlescent type finish. We'll take a closer look when I cover the attire up close, but I was blown away. And being colorblind, it takes a lot for me to be like, whoa. And when I took this figure out and the light was hitting it and that silver wasn't silver, it was changing color. Coolest thing ever. I thought that was so awesome. Now, another thing I noticed right off the bat that I really didn't cover enough with the standard Mariah is the freaking neck. The head does not sit down on the neck peg. Now, I already have said how I hate this neck joint. That neck joint is pointless. I wish Jazwares would have gotten rid of it. It's terrible. But as you can see, there's a good gap between the head and the peg that it sits on, and the hair floats above her shoulders. So, yeah, that's a bit of a frustrating thing there because it does look terrible, I hate to say, because packaged in the box, you see that neck joint, and it just looks really bad. It just looks really bad. So, I don't know what happened there, but the head just does not sit on the body. I mean, you almost have to lean the head forward to cover up that joint, but it just doesn't sit on that neck. So, I don't know what happened there in the production that made it that way, but it doesn't look good. I mean, it's really an eyesore, to be honest with you. But other than that, you know, we'll take a look at that face next because that's been a big topic. It's looked terrible on images online, so we'll look at it up close, see how it looks in person. But I cannot get over the attire. I freaking love the attire. And she comes packaged with hands that are, you know, pretty signature for her, but she also comes with a right hand that is like grasping and a left hand that's like partially open. So that's all she comes with. You know, the standard version did come with the AEW Women's World Championship, which was cool, but I don't know. I think this one really does stand apart from that other one. The attire, and you really have to open the figure to really appreciate it. Now, that being said, let's take a closer look at that face sculpt, face scan, and hair sculpt. All right, so hear me out, because anyone, including me, that saw images of this figure online could not stand the way the face looked. It looked, even if you look at images right now, it looks terrible. But I'm going to be honest with you. Hear me out. Having it in front of me, it looks so much better in person. Now, I said that about the standard release, that it looked better in person, but I think this one looks even better in person. Now, I will say this. I did get two of these, and the one had the scan that was printed on a little bit off, and it looked terrible. Now, this one, it looks like the scan is printed on exactly where it should be, and looking at this figure from different angles, I think it definitely looks like Mariah or Blake Monroe. You know, she's a very beautiful woman, and her figures don't exactly depict that, but I think this one comes the closest. And honestly, from different angles, it does look a lot like her, even straight on. But I think where they made the mistake is they went super heavy, almost like panda bear eyes with the eyeshadow, the eyeliner. She just has big dark circles around each eye, and that's what really throws this off, because I think if they had better, more intricate detail in the eyeshadow and the makeup on the eyes, I think it would look fantastic. But I promise you, this figure in hand, if you look up close to the face like we're doing right now, it looks so much better than those images. The images online look absolutely terrible, I'm going to be honest, but I actually like the sculpt a lot, and the dark circles around the eyes are really my only complaint here. I think otherwise, the shape, I love the lip color, the eyebrows look great. So yeah, it's just those dark circles around the eye that really throw this face off. But like I said, look at it from this angle, and it's good. It is good, believe it or not. It's just those circles. I don't know what they were thinking. Now, the hair sculpt, I think the hair sculpt is really, really good. I love how it's like not a pure yellow like Mattel does their blonde figures. It is like a blonde color, right? I wish there was a little more detail in the highlights and streaks and stuff like that. But you know what? This head actually looks a heck of a lot better than I thought it would in person, I'll be honest. But what really I cannot stand is that neck. Look at that neck. That neck joint really stands out because this head does not sit on the figure how it should. You can see the gap there. There's a gap up underneath this neck, and it just kind of floats. And I feel like the head should sit down where the hair actually sits on the shoulder, and it just doesn't. So yeah, I don't know what happened with the design there, but that's really unfortunate, because other than that, the scan was surprisingly better than I thought. Moving on down to the body sculpt and the attire. The body sculpt is fantastic. You know, Jazwares does such an amazing job with their women's figures, really giving each figure a unique feel to the female's specific body shape and style. This one's no different. It's beautiful. It really is. I think they did a good job with part choices. So yeah, I mean, Jazwares knocked it out of the park as far as the body sculpt goes. And the attire here, let me tell you about this attire. This is like maybe my favorite attire in my collection of women's wrestling figures, and I'll show you why in just 1 second. But taking a closer look, we have a little white armband painted on her left arm, so we'll get that out of the way. Her top does have some sculpting on the straps going across the middle. We have a little heart circle there moving it around the back. We have that little heart cut there with the strap sculpted as well. Now, this middle belt, I guess you can call it, is different than the standard release. I will bring that figure out in the next segment. We do a little side-by-side. But this one has a different clasp there. But it sits nicely around her waist, going onto her bottoms. Also, we have like a little patch of fur. That would have been freaking cool if this was actual fur that they could have implemented on the figure. That really would have set this figure apart, honestly. But we have that there. We have these little garters, I guess, painted on up top. The legs are dark, and before I get comments saying, why is the skin tone off on the legs? It's supposed to simulate pantyhose or stockings a lot of the women's wrestlers wear. For some reason that always people don't understand that. A lot of people don't understand that. But yeah, it's supposed to simulate stockings or pantyhose, so there's that. Then we have these high boots that form into her kick pads that go down. And on the back, we have this design there. So what I'm talking about, why I love this attire so much, is when you first look at this figure, you just think, okay, it's just like a white attire with silver accents. But there's so much going on that I don't think the camera is going to pick it up. Like these little spots on her bottoms that are like a silver. If you move the light in different angles, it turns like a pinkish purple. But it completely changes color. Like, it might be easier to tell on the backside. It's not just a silver, it's like a pearlescent color that really changes. And even if you look down on her boots, it's got like this goldish undertone to the pearlescent color. It's really hard to see. Let me turn the lights off and see if this is a little better. So we really turn the brightness up. You see what I mean? There's like a little design there. Like a greenish goldish design there on the backdrop. But all of these little spots that I thought were just silver, they are not. It's like this pearlescent type color that I hope is coming across on camera. There we go. That's a good view there. A good shot. Oh my gosh, that did not come out right. You see how it's like purple in spots? And I don't know. I love that. Even like right here. You can see that like yellowish, goldish undertone on the white come through. It almost looks like it's glow in the dark. But yeah, you see that purple? I don't know. It might be something that doesn't pick up too well on camera. But I promise you, like, if you look at this figure up close in person, it's like jaw-dropping the way that the color came out. Like the accent colors and the undercolors. I don't know. They definitely put a lot of effort into this figure, and I definitely appreciate that. So now let's do a little side-by-side comparison. On the left, we have the standard release of Mariah, and on the right, we have the chase. Now, what's really cool about Jazwares and AEW with their chases and rares, a lot of times they have pretty significant differences, whether it be the sculpting, the attire itself, the overall look, but the heads are also different a lot of times, which is so cool. It actually makes the chase and the rares feel special, and this is no different. Obviously, the attire is wildly different, but we have different heads, we have different hair sculpts. So let's do the comparisons here. Now let's start off with the face. So the standard release is a more bubbly, more fun face. Like, I'm here to party, I'm Mariah, and I'm here to party. And today's figure, the chase, is kind of a more serious look, but I actually think this sculpt resembles Mariah more. Now, eliminate the dark circles around her eyes, and I think the likeness is excellent. Whereas this just kind of looks like a generic head. Like, if this head was not on this figure, and 20 years from now you find this head somewhere on the floor, you're going to look at it and not know who it was, right? But I think this actually looks like Mariah. I just think it's the unfortunate circles around her eyes. But yeah, as you can see from different angles, I think today's sculpt and scan is surprisingly better. Now, the hair sculpt is different. I do like the standard hair sculpt because it's a little more voluminous, we'll say. But you can see that the hair sculpt is different between the two. This one actually has a scuff on the head that's not supposed to be there. Now, the attire is the main thing that's different. If we turn and look at the attire here, so the standard release, it did have these little shoulder pads. They're kind of like glued in place, I guess, these furry shoulder pads. And she also has this bandana attached to the side of her trunks. And the belt that she has around her waist has a heart shape. The belt today has like a fastener buckle. And on the side, we have this little fur patch instead of the little fabric. And we don't have the shoulder pads. Now, obviously, on the standard, we also have this little cool armband that I just ruined. And the attire itself is drastically different between the standard and the chase. Moving it around, as you can see, a different color palette was used. And even though it looks like there's a lot more that went into the standard, this chase is my favorite as far as attire goes. I think it's superior to the standard, and it's all because that pearlescent color they used on the accents of this attire, how it changes color. It's just beautiful. I can't say enough good about it. Now, I said this before, a lot of times when my women's wrestling figures are in all black or all white, you know, they kind of stand out. And this one absolutely stands out. I love how it looks. And when you look at it up close, I promise you it's way different than what you're getting on camera. But I could see a lot of people that would prefer the standard because it does have some additional little features. But honestly, I think today's figure is better in almost every way than the standard. And I did not expect that going into this review, to be honest. So overall, I give AEW Unrivaled Series 18 Mariah May Chase out of 5,000 an overall score of a 9.5 out of 10. Now, I know that might seem high, but hear me out. This face is so much better in person. In fact, I think the only thing they did wrong with it is the real dark circles around the eyes. I think if they toned that down a little bit, this face would be tremendous. It would look just like her. But I think that flaw is the reason why it's not a higher score. Now, the rest of the figure, to me, is beautiful. I know it might seem understated when you compare this attire to the standard release, but that's what I love about it. It's simple, but there's so much detail put into it. Even the little belt that went around her waist has a sculpted buckle on it. And on top of that, the paint that they used, that I've covered a lot in this video, that changes color with light exposure from different angles, it's amazing. It should not go unnoticed or unsaid because that is so awesome. Considering Mattel will give us women's wrestling figures, most recently that Io Sky Elite 122, that they can't even put metallic paint on the attire color, which is so wrong because a lot of these women's wrestlers, they have a lot of shiny, they have a lot of metallic colors in their attire, and it doesn't translate to women's wrestling figures as far as Mattel goes for the most part, but Jazwares tries. And this is a prime example of them going the extra mile when they didn't have to. So I think that is a big reason why the score is so high. Also, I gave the standard release a 9.4, and I like the chase better, so I had to give it a 9.5. But yeah, I would head on over to Ringside Collectibles right now. Use coupon code LJV to save 10%. Pick yourself up one of these Mariahs, or two, because you really have to unbox it and open it up to appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by Lumberjillville. Women's wrestling lives here. To get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, make sure to hit subscribe to become an official resident of LJV today. Also, head on over to ringsidecollectibles.com and use coupon code LJV at checkout to save 10% on your next order of women's wrestling figures. Thanks for watching, and have a great night, y'all.